Most people are skeptics now when they're buying a car. They know there's always tricks up the sleeve. The dealers always have a new trick trying to take people for a ride. And whether it's a matter of getting a key fob protection package, rim protection packages, there seems to be a constant list of add-ons every time you're buying a new vehicle. But guess what? I have a question that came up by a recent viewer that asked a question about these car buying services. Is that value add? Is it a great opportunity to isolate yourself from the dealers and from the vendors? And well, it's actually twofold. I want to kind of address that because these car brokers or these car buying services, I mean, who are you buying these services from? Ultimately, there are some great car buying services. There are some people that are very knowledgeable. And having been in the car market for over 35 years, selling cars in auctions, you name it, in repairs, I've seen every trick and scam in the book. Now you have a new one, a cost adder, a cost that it's actually going to cost you, the buyer, getting involved with a lot of these new car buying services. Is it great value? Well, it's actually twofold. You can say in some cases it's great value added, getting some of these car buying services involved, and in other ways it's an absolute another scam. I mean, clearly it's another space in the marketplace where somebody in their infinite wisdom felt compelled to get involved and start a business where somebody didn't want to take care of it. It's no different than putting air in your tires. You can drive down to the car dealership and get the dealership to put in air for you. You just have to pay them a half-hour labor. Get it? It's sort of the same idea. It's a very simplistic idea, and yet people still engage some of these car buying services. A lot of them are fast talkers. Some of them look like they're 12 years old and can talk up a storm. But is there a reality? Are some of them as good as they claim to be? Well, what my personal experience is over the years is there's always a benefit to everything. That's how they sell it to you. I mean, do you need some of the protection packages you get with your key fob? Not really. But if you lose this and it costs you $2,000 to replace it, I guess if you lost it and you need to replace it and you have that warranty, it's sort of beneficial, right? So it's one of those things, it's an option. It's almost like insurance. So getting some of these car buying services involved may help you in some cases. Now, I'm not the personal biggest advocate for that type of situation or that service, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to share some of the tips as to how you can avoid even bother getting some of them involved, and why, in fact, it's really, in my personal opinion, one of the bigger scams and cost adders in today's car market. I mean, everything you can possibly imagine is being thrown at the car buyers these days. So it's hard to say no, 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 when in fact you're getting chucked all these different ideas and new extensions, warranty extensions, new add-ons, new concepts, new services that constantly keep you bamboozled and confused as to what you should buy and what you shouldn't buy. Now I want to start out by saying, look, car brand, Maserati, you think of cars, if you're looking for a very specific car, something that's very niche, okay? My personal experience is if you're shopping for a supercar, an exotic car, maybe an old classic, something that's extremely hard to find and it'll take a lot of legwork to come up with. Those are cases and examples of you have people that can absolutely find you some good deals. And maybe not so much good deals, but they can find you the car you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for that rare Ferrari and there's only 500 made. I give you an example like an Enzo, possibly a LaFerrari, and you want to get your hands on something that is very difficult. Some of these specialized car brokers or car buying services are great because they'll know where to hunt. They'll have the resources. They'll have the networks. They'll know who's selling those types of cars. They'll go on the search and they'll do some of that negotiation. So there are in some cases, some huge value in getting some of these car services involved. But if you're shopping for every other vehicle, like 99.9% of the vehicles on the road that aren't like this, that most people are driving Hondas, Toyotas, Mazdas, driving Chevys and Fords. I mean, they make these vehicles by the billions. There's so many cars on the road these days. It doesn't take long. In most cities, there's 2 or 3 or 5 dealerships of that same brand. So how do you shop around? It's just a few phone calls. Guess what? There's a lot of tricks that you can avoid some of these car buying services because are they value added? Well, let me just put it out by saying there's car dealerships that respond both positively and negatively to these fast talking services. Some of these fast talking services, they join up and they say they've got 40 years in the car selling business, but most of it was pre-pandemic. Things have changed. Some of the policies, the concepts, and the approach angles are a lot different in approaching some of these dealerships today than it was in 2018 working for an Acura dealership. Things have changed a lot. And so I just want to get to the point. I'm not here to sell a service. I'm here to provide you with the information to help yourself save some money, ultimately get a good vehicle for the best money possible, and give you some insights to what's going on in the market as a whole. We know some of the big losers, some of the big dealers and manufacturers that have been on the brink of going out of business. We know that there are some great opportunities to get some great deals there. So it all starts with your shopping experience. You don't need those services in my own personal experience if you're buying a car like a Toyota, or maybe a Honda, or maybe a Ford. Why is that? Well, first of all, do some research. I mean, you're going to do most of that research on the front end anyway. So if you're engaging some of these buying services for you, a lot of them are basically going to say, well, what are you interested in? Well, that's pretty easy homework you're going to do anyway. Chances are you're getting excited and you're going to start thinking, okay, I need a minivan or I need a pickup truck and I need it to do this, and this. Well, you've already narrowed down your buying. Okay, you've already done a lot of that homework. All you're going to do is pass that off to this car buying service. So rather, take that information, narrow it down, do a little bit of basic research. Do you need a pickup truck? It needs to fit within that $50,000 to $70,000 price range. What do you have available? Okay, guess what? That all starts with reading some basic reports. You want a full-size truck that fits that gambit? Well, you're going to look at probably the big four. Maybe look at the Toyota Tundras. Maybe look at the F-150s. You've got the Rams, and possibly, of course, Chevy's got their Silverados and all of those types of products. So you're going to narrow it down. You know the vehicles that are in that space. Then you know, do you need four-wheel drive, four doors? You start chiseling that down. Just ask yourself, okay? Because these car buying services are going to ask you, just you ask yourself. Ask yourself these simple questions. What do you really need? What's going to meet your intent? What's going to meet the desires and the function of your use? You have a budget. You have a certain functionality. You have a certain color scheme or scam. What do you have? What do you need? Answer that. Ask yourself that question. You just need to ask yourself that question, okay? It's straight and simple. That's all it takes, okay? Once you figure out what you have, do a little bit of basic research. A lot of these car buying services aren't necessarily going to get into the ins and outs of issues with problems, reliability, depreciation. Some will, some won't. But ultimately, a lot of that research should be done anyway. That's only your own good due diligence to understand the kind of vehicle you're getting involved in. Are you going to buy a 6.2 liter L87 powered Chevy engine? Probably not the best idea in current climate, given the fact that there's over 100,000, no, there's actually almost 900,000 vehicles being recalled right now because of bad engines. So do a little bit of that basic homework. Figure out what you need, your functionality, and of course, most importantly, do a little research on reliability and depreciation. Once you've got that sorted out, you just have to do one simple thing. Look, shop around. It's that simple. That's what these guys are doing. All they're doing is picking up their phone. Here, pick up your phone. We all have one of these days, right? You grab your phone and all you do is go onto the websites, look around, find out, Google, it's pretty quick, Google your area for dealerships. There's probably 4 or 5 of them. If you live in a city of 1 million people or so, look it up. Check it for yourself. Look at all those dealers. But as well, look at Car Gurus, the best site you can possibly imagine. Because pull up Car Gurus, Gurus. Car Gurus, there's one in Canada, there's one in the US. Look it up, search either new or used. If you're looking for a new vehicle, it's as simple as looking for that make and model and year you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for an outgoing 2024 because you know there will be better deals. Look it up. Look online, new vehicles, 2024, Ford F-150 between this price range. You search those up. You might have a list of 25 trucks to choose from. Look them, click into each one. Oh, here's one. I like this one. This one's red. Let's look at it. You go into it, you realize, okay, it kind of meets what I'm looking for. You find that it's been on the lot for, 382 days. Okay, it's been there a long time. Dealers are often getting hungry. They have things like they call floor plan costs. That's their monthly charges that they have to pay to incur because they're having a vehicle. It's like you and your car loans. You have to pay a monthly charge on your car loan. They kind of have to do the same thing because most of these dealers do not own these vehicles outright. So the longer they're sitting with these vehicles, the more money they're paying on interest charges, and they don't like that. So 30 to 60 days is sort of that area, 90 days kind of max. As soon as you start pushing out of that space, then you know they're getting hungry. So in your search on Car Gurus, just realize that, wait a minute, okay, here's a couple trucks. These ones fit my criteria. Then you start calling those dealers. That's what these guys are doing. You call those dealers. Maybe you're down to 2 or 3 specific trucks, okay? It fits all the criteria. It's got the price. It's got the color. It's got the specs. And it's been on there for longer than 120 days, maybe 180 days, maybe 365 days. You know you have bargaining power because that's what these guys are going to do. They're going to take what they know is vehicles that have high inventory numbers of vehicles that aren't selling, high volumes, vehicles that are, there's lots of them like it on the lot, and they're going to use that tactic and that negotiation ability against the dealer. So of course they're going to say, one thing you have to ask for, okay? Do these negotiations yourself. Just so, look, what's the out the door price? You don't need to get all willy-nilly about the pricing. You don't need to get all crazy about all the fast talk and the dealer floor plan this and that and hold back costs and, you know, sticker versus invoice versus it. Don't worry about that. Just know for yourself, okay, MSRP is the Monroney sticker. You see that on the window. Know that you're somewhere between 5 to 12%. Below that is invoice pricing, okay? Are they willing to drop below that? Sometimes. But if you can target somewhere between, you know, that 5 to 8% below sticker, then that's probably where it's an extravagantly crazy deal, okay? If you can get sticker price on a Toyota, that seems to be the going price. Try to get below that, but generally speaking, if you can get anything below sticker, somewhere in that 5% below is ideal. You're doing very, very well. If you're getting a vehicle for sticker, well, at least you're not overpaying. Because the worst thing that's going on right now are people have been overpaying market adjustment fees, and then they wonder why they're underwater in 3 years when they go to try to turn it in, and then they have to roll over that negative equity into the next vehicle, and they find they're into this vicious cycle of loss and financial disruption. So forget about all that, okay? Just know that if you get sticker, ideally below sticker, 5 to 10% below sticker is a good spot to be. Some dealers and Toyotas have been kind of weird and sticky with their delivery on time, so they don't have a lot of inventory. So they use that against you for negotiations because they say, look, if you don't have inventory on the lot, sorry, we don't have many. We can't negotiate. We can't budge. That's sort of a game they were playing, but that's not really entirely true. They have some models that are less popular, and we know the Tundras have been struggling as well right now with some of their quality issues and some of their engines. So there are certain vehicles that they will adjust their pricing on a little bit. And I've experienced some of that lately. So you don't know until you know. But the thing you need to ask is not how much for this, not how much for that. You just simply need to ask these dealers, you found these 3 vehicles that fit your criteria, call each one of those dealers because in Car Gurus, it'll tell you how many days it's been there. It'll give you a reference point if it's above, below, is it fair market value, is it below market value? Then you have a pretty good sense of what the average is in your location. So that already gives you a starting point. If it says this is much higher than the average, well then you know either A, these guys probably aren't going to deal, or they're likely overcharging and they're trying to overcharge on everything, or you have just a massive margin that you have to make up. Ideally, I like to start at a place where they're asking fair market value and work off of that. Or these dealers that are actually asking below market value for some of their vehicles, that's a good place because if you can get anything off of that, or even if they don't adjust, at least you know what you have for a price of that vehicle. And it's pretty standard. Okay, the thing you have to say though is, what is the out the door price? What's the out the door price? Okay, all these features, I want to know the out the door price. They're going to give you, well, you know, what do you like? Don't take any extras, okay? That's the first thing. They're going to start to nickel and dime you. They're going to nickel and dime you on a trade. They're going to nickel and dime you on financing and lease costs and rates, okay? Depending on your credit score, they're going to try to gain something somewhere. They're going to try to get you in the door, possibly, and hopefully get you signed up with financing, hopefully make a little money on the back end with some of your trade. They're going to try to get something out of somewhere, okay? But you don't need those services, though. Buying services are just going to ask these same questions. All you need to know is, don't say anything. Go in there. Ideally have your banking already sorted out, okay? Talk to your own banker, your own lending institution, having your finances set up in advance so you know what to expect. So you know that what your finance rates actually should be and could be, okay? So what you need to know is the out-the-door price of that vehicle. No trades, no extras, taxes, registration, all fees, all in. What's the out-the-door price? Because they're going to say, Monroney says, you know, $49,995. Great. Okay, but what's the out-the-door price? Because it's not that. There's admin fees, there's tire levies, there's all these extras, there's GST, PST, state taxes, all these other things that they start slapping in there, these line items that need to go in there. So what you need to do is ask what the out-the-door price is. That's all you need to do, okay? Then you want to start negotiating on that, ultimately. The best thing you can do is just manage your negotiations yourself. These car buying services, are they a value add? Well, there are people that are a little more introverted. There's a lot of people that just are disgusted with dealing with dealers. And a lot of these dealers won't even give you an out-the-door price. They'll say, well, why don't you come in and we'll discuss it, maybe take it for a drive. And they'll play that game, but ultimately hold stand true. You can go in and look at it and kick some tires, but ultimately you're trying to get the out-the-door price. Don't put on the extras. Don't put on paint protection film. Don't even try to negotiate that in, because likely they're going to bury some costs in there and you're going to somehow lose. They've already figured that out, okay? So don't even bother. At this point, if you need paint protection film, go down the road to Joe's Detailing Company that actually installs the PPF, because chances are that dealership's subbing it out to them anyhow. So they're just putting their markup on. So really, all you need to do is out-the-door price, taxes all in, how much, okay? That then gives you the best price. And you also know how much you're dealing with. Does it make sense? Again, realistically, you need to understand the vehicles and how long they've been around, the popularity. The other thing I'd suggest is not buying the latest and hottest model. Now, if you need to have that, you're probably not going to have a strong negotiations, and neither will these brokers, neither will these car buying services actually have a strong foot to stand on. They generally won't if it's a hot model that just came out. These dealers know, and they usually have been piling them up on the lots, and they spec them very highly and throw all kinds of extras in there, and they'll put the upgraded wheels, and it's a really, really well sought after off-road SUV, and they know it's going to sell no matter what. So they usually even add a little extras into that, and they just fatten it right up because they know it's going to sell because of the type of vehicle it is. So they usually throw a bunch of other junk on there, and then hopefully you'll buy it and take it all as is. So they know they're playing these games, so don't buy that. Basically, just know that buying from these dealers is not the worst, most intimidating thing. Just notice they're people like us, okay? But you can't be a pushover. That's all I'm saying, is you got to be firm, be willing to walk out the door, because that's what these car buying services, that's all they do. They phone around 2, 3, 5 dealers, and they try to find, and they price shop, try to get the best deal. So now that's what you need to do. And there may be some non-advertised vehicles. So you come across on Car Gurus and you find some vehicles on there that meet your criteria. So maybe you call some of the other dealers and said, hey, you know what? I need that 2024 XLT in red. What do you have? And they might look it up and they might say, yeah, we have this one over here, but it's 48.5. We just want to get it gone. You might find stuff that's not even advertised, or it's not, it's under the woodwork. Your best option is to start just phoning around, asking the questions. But you're always looking for out-the-door price, because now you're also comparing between multiple dealers, and then you're also going to know that you have the best course of action. Because yes, you always should shop each other one against each other. And you say, yeah, John's Ford just down the road said they do it for this. And they say, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll meet that and we'll do this for you. See, by shopping them against each other is how you're going to get your best deal. So I hate to give up all these trades tips. There's a lot more to come. And if you follow the channel, of course, don't be shy to hit that subscribe button and hit that little tinkle bell over there, because it's going to let you know when the next great video is up. So again, as always, everybody, check it out. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.